Kujundžić. I am under a dilemma whether I should speak really fast in order to manage to say everything that I have to speak, that I have actually in my presentation, which is quite big, or maybe focus on those things which I identified during these 2 days as questions from which you could get an answer in my presentation. And I decided to actually opt for the second possibility. The presentation that I have is divided into 3 segments, which are closely linked, and I will endeavor to emphasize those things that I find to be at this moment important for you. One of the questions which were raised yesterday during our group work for waters was cooperation at catchments. And therefore, this slide, I will speak about this slide a bit longer, you will manage to see it a bit longer, shows that about 95% of territory of Serbia pertains to the Danube catchment. Practically, it means that all of our international activities and activities in general are linked to the Danube River catchment. We have also activities related to the Sava and Tisa river catchments. I will say a few words concerning that. But my colleague was a rapporteur for our group by force today, and he mentioned something about the Aegean Sea catchment and basin and Adriatic Sea basin. So we do have 5% of our territory which pertains to those 2 basins, so we do have cooperation related to those 2 basins as well. Our basic law is the law on waters, which is fully harmonized with the Water Framework Directive. It was adopted about 2 years ago, to be more specific, in May 2010. At the moment, we are adopting bylaws. And I can tell you that about 1/3 of the bylaws have been adopted out of about 80 bylaws. Many of them are being adopted at the moment, and there's a certain portion of the relevant bylaws which still need to be drawn up and adopted. We also have other laws, such as the laws which are necessary for the work of other ministries participating in water management process. But I have to mention the Water Management Master Plan of Serbia, which was adopted in 2002. It is our, if I may put it that way, an act which practically summarizes the water management issues in the Republic of Serbia. According to the water law, it will be replaced somehow with the water management strategy for the territory of the Republic of Serbia, and the strategy should be adopted at the end of this year. It is in the final stage of its development. As Duška said, the ministry which is competent is the Ministry of Agriculture, Trade, Forestry and Water Management. That is its operational body, the Republican Directorate for Water, which is the one competent for water management according to the law on waters. However, both the law on ministries and the law on waters lay down that there are various other competent institutions, primarily ministries at the Republican level, however other institutions as well, which should be naturally mentioned here, such as their public authorities, such as Ministry for Environment, Mining and Special Planning, local self-governments, utilities within local self-governments. But I would like to emphasize the Republic-level authorities, that is ministries, as that is one of the replies to your general recommendations. Third recommendation is to improve cooperation between the sector and government ministries. And I'm actually trying to say that laws lay down cooperation. Even if you're not interested in cross-sectoral cooperation, you have the obligation to cooperate. So I have to say that our ministry truly has good cooperation with the Ministry of Environment, Mining and Spatial Planning, and the Ministry of Health, and the Ministry of Infrastructure and Energy, and Economy and Regional Development. However, all of them have their competencies stipulated in cases of defense, floods, utilities, water supply, collecting, treating wastewaters, controlling the quality of potable water, protection zone of springs, etc. I'm trying, even if you want to avoid cooperation, it is impossible. Naturally, you shouldn't avoid it. I join your efforts in saying that it should be strengthened as much as possible. The competence of the Republic Directorate for Water, that is of the Ministry of Water Management, is water management policy. Water use is still integrated. In other words, it is still under the Directorate for Waters. Then we are also competent for multi-purpose water usage, water regime, protection of waters, international cooperation, and other activities. Some of the three water-related activities laid down by the law are protection against the adverse effects of water and development and use of waters and protection of waters against contamination, against pollution. I'm moving on to climate change. According to the Law on Waters, which is harmonized with the Water Framework Directive, climate changes are defined in Article 43 and in Article 47 of the law, which stipulate what is the manner in which water management and water-related activities are carried out. So in addition to protection and strengthening aquatic and coastal ecosystems and reduction of adverse effects floods and droughts, they propose measures for mitigation of adverse effects of climate change as well. Now I would say a few words concerning another directive, which is also very important, which has fully been transposed into the law on waters, and that is the Directive on Floods, as we call it, but however, its full name is on assessment and management of risks, floods, and flood risks. It defines two main reasons for flood risks. First of all, human activities. We know this very well due to uncontrolled construction procedures and using floodplains into economic or other purposes, and they cause the reduction of the natural water retention, and it also lays down climate change as one of the reasons. And this directive practically mentions three steps on how to fight risks of floods. The first step is preliminary flood risk assessment. The second step is risk maps and vulnerability maps, and the ultimate result, risk management plan. This is something that preliminary assessment, risk assessment, should contain. In Serbia, so far, we have adopted bylaws, actually a piece of a bylaw which lays down methodology for drafting preliminary flood risk assessment, whereas flood risk maps and vulnerability maps are in its final stages of development. Soon, we will adopt the plan for managing flood risks. I would like to touch upon international cooperation briefly as well. It is the second form, if I may put it that way, of a reply to questions raised within the level of our water group. Seeing that you mentioned among the 6 priorities strengthening international cooperation and management of areas next to rivers. In Serbia, I have to say, we have very strong activities, very significant activities at the international level. And there I have to go back to the map, where we saw that we mostly pertain to the territorial basin of the Danube River, so we do have activities related to ICPDR and within the Sava River Commission. Serbia participated actively in developing management plans of all activities of the ICPDR, and the Sava Commission, we are a fully fledged member and we are participating entirely in the activities. It's important to say, as I will show management plans over the next few slides, that Serbia has begun relatively early to apply the directive to harmonize water water law, and all of the other activities related to these catchments. Just a few words concerning the basic documents within the Danube-related activities and climate change, their impact and adaptation. There is the Green Paper, which was adopted in 2007, which practically lays down some priority options to reduce effects of climate change, and the so-called White Paper, called Adapting to Climate Change Towards European Framework for Action. It was adopted in 2009, and some of them were mentioned today during the day.
Then I will talk something about another document, which was the results of the ministerial conference in 2010, when the ICPDR has initiated the production of a study, climate change adaptation, because it was determined that certain activities should be adapted more significantly with respect to the climate changes. This study was done based on the existing studies and projects, and it gives certain trends in terms of temperature, precipitous, etc. I won't go in details in neither of these management plans. There is a short overview of all the three management plans for the river basin of Dunav, Tisa and Sava. All these three management plans have taken into account the changes of the climate change adaptation, mostly in terms of the flood risk reduction, because when we talk about climate changes, the floods and now even droughts are always at the top of the list of priorities. So this management plan of river basin of Dunav also takes into account the climate changes. It gives a certain link between the risk management plan with respect to the floods and the management plan with respect to the climate change adaptation. It also gives certain justification, rationale why the climate changes are introduced into the into the management plan of the river basin of Danube. In a similar way, the climate changes are introduced into the management plan of river basin of Tisa, also justifying, giving rationale why the climate changes are introduced, certain measures to be implemented with respect to the climate changes, and also the conclusions, out of which I have to say the most important one, although I'm not meteorologist, but this first one, the first conclusion is very important, which says that the long-term extreme events, floods and droughts, will likely occur more frequently and with greater intensity, and this is something we have to take into account, but also that the impact on the small currents, this will be also problematic for those currents. The Sava River Basin Management Plan doesn't take into account the climate changes into the Chapter 11. It takes them actually in the Chapter 11. It also gives certain recommendations regarding the climate change in the river basin of Sava. But here it's much more important another document which was used when producing the management plan, because the management plan is now in the form of draft. As of December to April, we had public consultations. After that, we have the appeal period, and by the end of 2012 the final document will be adopted. So this is the related document. The background paper number 10 was used when producing the management plan, but for its preparation we use certain projects implemented in this area and the territory of these four countries, which took into account the climate changes. The first document was done by the Institute Jaroslav Černy, Climate Change and Impacts on Water Supply, but also some other projects like the draft management for Southeast Europe, impacts on climate change in Southeast Europe, a pilot project on water and climate change and adaptation. And within this document, we have certain trends both for Serbia and the remaining three countries. I won't go into details regarding these temperature, precipitates and runoff trends, but I can give you some conclusions which are the result of a study which is ongoing, 3 years, produced by the Jaroslav Černy Institute from Serbia, impact of the climate changes on the rivers in Serbia. Just 3 conclusions which are very important, and they are the results after the second work of this study. The first conclusion, the most important, that there is a trend of the decreased water discharge in Serbia. So reason being climate changes, because climate change's impact is present on all the profile with a different significance. That is to say, in the eastern part of the country is dominant, but it's present on the territory of Serbia. Second important conclusion is that average yearly sum of our transportation is actually on the decrease for 16%, and the smallest trend of decrease of runoff is in the western part of Serbia and the biggest in the eastern part of Serbia. So this data, once the document becomes official, should be taken into account when all the water management activities are to be implemented in Serbia. And the last block will cover a couple of activities which are currently ongoing or yet to be implemented. First of all, protection from floods, adaptation to floods, because just like most of the neighboring countries, we had a problem in the last 10 years, especially big floods in 2006 and 2007, when we have the coincidence of strong rainfall and sudden meltdown of snow in the Carpats and Dinarids and Alps. A lot of Serbia was under the water, so we should do some meteorological, hydraulic studies, assessments of the sustainability of the system, needed reconstructions, etc. As you can see on this photo, during the floods 2006, the flood wall on the left bank of the river Sava. This was done on the right hand bank of the river Dunav. So we have done the reconstruction of the right hand side of the river Dunav, and also the embankment on the river Sava was upgraded, thus protecting 300,000 people in the new Belgrade and Zemun, also even some economic facilities, etc. But we are facing ourselves with the floods, but we are also facing with the droughts.
sa sušama se isključivo ova, kako sam rekla da je rezultat ove
As I
studije,
said, the result of the
suše više
study,
pogađaju ovaj
the
istočni
droughts
deo
are more
Srbije, tako da
impacting
se
the eastern
predviđa
part of
i
Serbia,
izgradnja
and we are
sistema za
foreseeing
navodnjavanje.
to build
Trenutno je u
irrigation
toku
system. At the moment,
priprema projektne
we are doing
dokumentacije za sistem za
doing
navodnjavanje
the
na
feasibility
Goričkoj visoravni.
study in the Negotin Valley,
I priprema
and we are also
jednog
preparing
dvostrukog sistema za
a double irrigation
navodnjavanje
system
u Banatskoj
in
regiji
Banat region.
kod Kikinde. Međutim, zašto kažem dvostruki sistem?
Why I'm
Zbog
saying
toga
this
što
is
je u
a
Srbiji
double
u
system,
prošlom
twofold system,
veku
because in Serbia in the
ti
last century
sistemi
all the
meliorativni su
systems
uglavnom
for
rađeni za
melioration were
odvodnjavanje.
built just
Preko
for the
90%
irrigation.
kanalske
More than
mreže rađene za
90% of these
odvodnjavanje. S
channels
obzirom
were done for the
da
actually
se
outflow, runoff of water,
pojavljuju
because
suše, a zna
now
se
we
da je
have
ovaj
the
deo
droughts, and we know
Vojvodine
that this part of
istočnog dela,
Vojvodina is
odnosno
part of the
južno od Save
Vojvodina,
i
south
Dunava,
of Sava and Dunav,
su pretežno poljoprivredne
are
površine.
usually
Predviđa se
agricultural
bilo
land.
rehabilitacija sistema koja
We
je u
are
svakom
going
slučaju
to do the
potrebna u
reconstruction of the
čišćenju i
whole
održavanju
system,
kanalske mreže, ali se
which we
predviđa
have to do anyway,
da
but we
da ti
want
melioracioni sistemi budu
to
sistemi
use these
dvostrukog
systems to have
odvodnjavanja i
double full
navodnjavanja.
function,
I na
not
kraju bih
just
samo još
irrigation but
rekla
also the runoff. Finally,
da se pored ovih problema
besides
susrećemo
these
veoma
problems, we
često
are
i sve
facing
češće sa bujičnim
with
poplavama
the torrential
koje
floods,
izazivaju jako velike
which are
probleme
causing a
manjim
lot of problems in the
naseljima ili manjim
small
lokalnim samoupravama, zbog
settlements,
toga što lokalne
municipalities.
samouprave dobile
That is why
obavezu
the
nadležnosti u
municipalities got
pogledu
much more
otklanjanja poplava i
competencies regarding
zaštite od
the
erozije i bujica. I
defend
ono što je
and
još
protection from
važno,
floods
da je
and
potrebno
erosion
pošumljavanje oko
and
visoke
landslides,
discipline
and
za
we have to do the
površine koje
afforestation of
su jako značajne s aspekta
additional 1,3 million
erozije
hectares of
monocenosa.
land, because they
Međutim,
are
ovaj
to
poslednji
prevent
slajd samo
erosion
bih
and
dodala još
floods.
jednu stvar
Now the last slide,
koja ovde nije
here I would
toliko,
like to mention
kako rekao,
one thing.
najviše se uvek daje akcenat na
The
poplave i
focus is
suše,
always on the
međutim,
floods and the
ne može se
droughts, but
reći da
we
ove
cannot
klimatske
say
promene
that the climate changes
neće
do
imati
not
uticaj
have or will not have
i na druge
an
vodne
impact on
aktivnosti, pre
some other
svega
water activities, primarily
vodosnabdevanje,
water
jer
supply,
se zna da su izvorište uglavnom u
because the
aluvionima
water
reka
sources are close to the
sa
river
ovim
basin.
trendom
So with this
smanjenja
trend of the
protoka,
reduction of
veliko je
the
pitanje
runoff,
kakav će biti,
it's very questionable what
zaštitnih
kind
izvorišta. Tako
of
da Srbija već duže
quantity
vreme
of
radi na
drinking
izgradnji
water will be
regionalnog
available. So we are working now on the regional water supply level,
dodatnog
which are now
vodosnabdevanja u
just in
sušnim
the function
periodima.
of complementary
Međutim,
water
Srbija je
supply
zadužena da
during the
se
drought
rešeno
period. But this is one of the reasons,
takođe treba da imamo
possibilities to solve the
i
water
zaštitu
supply
voda od
issue.
zagađivanja,
We also
opet u
have to
smislu
protect the
smanjenja
water
trenutnog
from
uticaja,
pollution.
ali ne samo u tom smislu. U Srbiji se planira
We are
izgradnja
planning to
postrojenja
build
za prečišćavanje
facilities
otpadnih voda
for
i
the
kao
wastewater
naravno kao i u
treatment.
svim zemljama, ali prioriteti su opet u skladu
Priorities
sa
are
direktivom, ali i sa ovim
in
trendom
line
da
with
se
the
prvo
directives,
gradnja
but also with these
aglomeracije
trends
2000 do
to build
2007.
the treatment facilities for the settlements population 55,000. Thank you.
I did not know up to now that we can participate in consultation. However, what about energy? As far as I know, there are about 800 locations which were planned in the past, 20 years ago, for the construction of buildings. I do not know the exact number of permits which were issued. That has a lot of impact. We saw protests by some local communities. There are dangers for the Ibar River. It's not just slowing down the courses, it's also pollution danger, changing economic activities. What is your relation to that? To hydropower plants, mini hydropower plants, systems. I have to tell you that when it comes to reservoirs, when it comes to dams with reservoirs, we truly try to have multi-purpose systems, both for hydroenergy, for irrigation, etc. They are existing systems, and apart from some plants which are not final for the Morava River, for the Ibar River, as I say. They are not final plans. I wouldn't like to enter such discussions because they are high-level decision-making topics. However, at the moment, I can tell you, and I believe that is also touched by your question, that the mini hydropower plants, including the big ones. There are 3 or 4 big ones planned on one of the rivers. Yes, that is also the Dream River. Yes, it's a matter of bilateral cooperation, so I'm not really sure I should be providing you with any answers at this moment, as they seem quite undefined at this point in time to me. As for the mini hydropower plants, I can tell you that all of the activities of the Republican Water Management Directorate are in line with the planning documents. So, in cases where the spatial plan does not provide for local government units, we do not issue any acts. So, where we do issue them, we lay down very strict conditions for construction in order not to disturb as much the water regime. And if we do not disturb much the water regime, then all of the other impacts are reduced at the same time, including living environment, ecosystem, and other species in that. About the number of issued licenses, I really cannot tell you the exact data. I believe that the number of issued licenses to act in the water management sector is not very big, as the process of constructing mini power plants is something which is in the process of development over the past years. It is mostly in the process of development. They are either preparing the documents or in some stages of construction. Very